All right, welcome back, guys. Quick one for Friday. Just wanted to do a video on tramming in the head on the Bridgeport and kind of what I do. To get the rough alignment in, to get this thing close, the first thing I always do is just grab a big old block and just bring this guy down right on top of it. Boom. Loosen up the screws, and this direction and this direction, it's all exactly the same. Do one, then do the other. I like to do this direction first, and then I worry about this direction. I think this one is much more important, but they both are very important for what I'm doing. So I spend a lot of time on this one, and then I spend a lot of time on this one. Anyways, that's my first thing. Shine light from the back side and look for light seeping through, and you should have nothing. And then I snug two of these guys crossways from each other. And then we move on to the next step. I watch a whole bunch of YouTube channels also about machining, and I've always done it this way to start off with. But recently I saw Cutting Edge Engineering, and I'll go ahead and leave a link to that up here in this corner, his video about this is kind of, at least the way it showed, this is his final setup. He just brings this guy down, and that's good enough for what he does. Of course, he's working on huge industrial equipment, dozers and earth moving equipment, cylinders and whatnot. What I'm doing is I'm machining extremely flat surfaces that have to transmit heat. So we need extremely flat surfaces. Anyways, like I said, I'll leave a link to that video, and go check out his channel. It's pretty good stuff if you're working in hard steel and really large stuff. Anyway, back to the video. Okay, the next thing I do is mount an indicator on the spindle and sweep the table. Now you can see this, believe it or not, I'm working backwards here. This thing is set up exactly where I want it. And you can see we're going to start at the front, 0. And as we sweep around to the side, you'll see we fall off 0 by quite a bit. Looks to be about 1.5 thou. Now that's a half thou. That's 5/10 per mark on that particular indicator. So when we come around to the back side, you can see about 1/2 thou. And then this side we're 0, right? 0 all the way around. So basically we're lifting up on this side by about 1.5 thou, according to that indicator. But let me reassure you, this is exactly where I want it. And the way I arrived at that is not easy. I'm sure everybody's got their own way of doing things, but what I like to do is mount, one of these guys, something that takes a wider cut than just like an end mill. I think this guy is 2-inch. Mount something like this in here and just take a pass and see where you're at. I'll bring the table up just so it just touches this piece of work. Right there. And then I'm just going to auto feed. Okay guys, this is that cut right there. I tried to get a good angle so you could see. But hopefully you can see one arc and then the other arc. That's the leading edge of the cutter and the trailing edge of the cutter. Now this is where I like to run my machine. Going in this particular direction that you just saw, you can see the leading and the trailing edge in the cut. Now what I'll show you is when we go the other direction. All right, so I'll just fire it up and move the table up about, I don't know, 4 or 8/10, something like that. There we go, and then we'll feed right back in. This is a very light cut. We have the machine spinning at 1,000 RPMs, and I'm feeding at what appears is about 9 inches a minute. Make sure our chips aren't getting drug across. All right, let's have a look at that cut now. So now you can see from that pass that the trailing edge is doing most of the cleanup. It's just leaving a faint witness of the leading edge cut. But the trailing is predominant. All right, now what we're going to do is fire this up. We're going to move it over, and we're going to leave about, you know, 1/2 inch or 3/4 of an inch of overlap. And we're going to make a pass. Table is at exactly the same height as the last cut. It's about 9 inches a minute, and we're still at 1,000 RPM. Now we're just going to come right back across. I like to work from the back to the front when I'm facing a part off like this. Okay, now we're going to go off part. I'll just feed by hand. And then we're going to sweep across this front edge, leaving, you know, 1/2, 3/4 of an inch of overlap so we can see what's going on. Probably right about there. And here we come. All right, here's the results from that pass. Now what we're looking at here is obviously you're going to see a line up here. That's the edge of the mill where it's making 2 passes, and you've got tremendously high surface speed right there, so it's going to polish this up pretty good. Now, of course, you can't feel that if you drag your hand across it, your fingernail or whatever else. You can't feel it, but you can see it. What I'm concerned with is I like to be able to see this edge from that original cut. I can still see that edge, which means the machine is aligned pretty well in this direction. This is what I'm after. And of course, when you get right down and look at it with this type of insert, you know, and what this is I don't even know the number. I don't use these very often. They were just here when I started here, but they're a triangular insert. I'll look that up and put that on the screen for you, what that insert style is. With that type of insert with a very, very small roundover on the corner, you can still see, and I'm trying to get this to focus for you guys, you can still see right there, leading and trailing edge of the cuts. You can see it real well right there. So that tells you then that the machine is extremely flat in this direction. Now, the way I cut an extremely flat surface is with a fly cutter, kind of a pseudo fly cutter set up out of a boring head. So I'll show you that next and show you the cut. Okay, let's get the table out of the way. Pull this guy up. Pull this guy out, and here is my fly cutter. It's just an easy way to do it, and I can get extremely large surface areas cut with this guy. But of course, it's very important, the larger this area is, that the machine be extremely flat on its setup. Both angles trammed in very, very well, and that's why we're going through this. Otherwise, you'll get ever so much of a cup surface, and we just can't have that. So this is what I use. The alignment dowel is still in this machine, which is ultra rare. We'll get this guy close. And the RPMs are a little high. Gotta slow this way down. You don't want any vibration whatsoever. And same deal, we'll just, we got it pretty close. We're gonna center it up on the part, kind of roughly. And bring the table up until we just touch. Probably right there. Let me come off, and we'll go down just a squeak more. All right, there we go. And we're going to feed a little slower this time since our RPM is significantly slower. We're about 7 inches a minute, and we're turning about 575 RPM. It's an extremely light cut. Now the leading edge is going to clear the part while the trailing edge is still on, so that may leave a little bit of a witness area, witness mark, change in cut. Okay, now I'm going to feed right back where we came from. No change in height whatsoever. A little slower on the return. My machine here, it's about 6.8 inches a minute. You can just barely hear it ticking the edges maybe of that block. But oddly enough, I am hearing the trailing edge touching. So strange enough, on, you know, in direction of cut, in this direction, sweeping in, careful not to cut my finger off, but when we swept in, the trailing edge cleaned up, and when we're coming back, the trailing edge is also cleaning up, or trying to clean up. It's not quite getting there, but it's pretty close. Okay. Now we'll go ahead and, just so you know I'm not cutting this and changing things, I'll pull the camera out and let's see what we can see. Alright, see if we can get this guy to focus in on what we need. Right there. So because the trailing edge was cleaning up going in, and it's also touching going out, I know that head is extremely well trammed in. And that's probably the best I can hope for in this case. So I'm going to go ahead and drop this down about 2 or maybe 4 tenths, maybe 6 tenths or something. And we'll take another cut and I'll show you the surface finish. Okay, here we go. We got her set up. We're taking a 6 tenths of an inch. So that would be just slightly over half a thou in a cut. I'm moving just ever so slightly slower, 5 inches a minute, and I'm still got it spinning at about the same 575 RPM. And like I said before, the front edge made a beautiful cut, and now the back edge, the trailing edge, is cleaning up absolutely everything, leaving nothing behind of the front cut. The front edge is cut. And it is just making dust is what it's doing. And this is this little tool that I've got in there is just high-speed steel, and it's hand sharpened with I think I used a diamond stone in one of the grinders. So nothing special. All right. Forgive the air conditioner just coming on. Again, we'll just pull this guy out, and you know, there you can see that is the surface finish I'm after. Ever so slight hint up here. Yeah, you can see right up in this region, right in here, where you can see that little crosshatch where both the leading and trailing edges are ever so slightly visible. But for the most part, it's a clean surface. And again, no changes whatsoever in height. And what we'll do is we'll mount this camera back in the holder like that. We'll fire it up. We'll bring it back across. We'll speed back up to maybe 6 inches a minute. The strange thing is the front edge is touching again ever so slightly. It's just kind of burnishing the surface. Barely. Now I don't hear a whole lot, but I can see that it is just ever so slightly burnishing the surface. That could just be maybe a ever so slight oil film that's transferring a witness mark. Who knows? And now that trailing edge is on. I'll pull the camera out. And you can see right there that that trailing edge is kind of cleaning up again. And I am telling you what, that is just dust that is scraping off. But it is cleaning it. And look at that. See the leading and trailing edges. This is extremely flat. It's a very nice surface finish, and that's what I'm after. So that's kind of what I'm after. And do I get that by sweeping this across the table surface? No, I don't. That is only achieved by putting a cutter in, making a pass, and in mid-stroke what I do is I give this a tap with a dead blow hammer. You know, very soft-faced, plastic-coated dead blow hammer. I just give this tap, tap, as it's making its way across. And what I'm looking for is that trailing edge to clean, to just barely clean up, leave its witness marks. So I go across, tap, tap, and then I go across this direction, tap, tap on this side, to try and get that thing to just be perfect, absolutely perfect. Now, if you're after a mirror finish, that's not what you want, because you don't want that crosshatch pattern left. But what I'm not after is a finish. I'm after a flat surface. So, you know, we're really we're into the minutia of this whole deal. Does it matter? It probably doesn't matter. If I just tap this one more time and got this guy to clear up on one side and made that my final pass, it would probably be just fine. But I want to know that that surface is flat, flat, flat. So there it is, a quick one on how I set up or tram in the head of the Bridgeport. It's fussy, it takes extra time. It's probably not necessary, but you know, for me, I just like to know that that things are proper, and I can always go back, and now I have a video. I can always go back and show people the proof and the extent that I go to make things flat, truly as flat as I can get a machine surface. Now, I also have a surface grinder over here that I could do some work with, but that's not going to happen on aluminum. It's not going to happen on copper. So I need to know that my aluminum surfaces that I'm using, aluminum for some of these heat exchangers, you know that's flat. Anyway, a little minutia, a little excess, kind of the links I go to, and a little quick video for Friday. We're still going to try to get that rear end housing done maybe this weekend, maybe not, maybe it'll run into next week. But yeah, we'll be cutting a 9-inch Ford housing for a little clearance, and explaining what I do, how I do it, and maybe it'll be informative. Anyway, stay tuned for more videos, and like, subscribe, do all that stuff, and we'll see you next time.